Hey, all right, welcome back, everyone. We're going to take a look at lesson 23, and we're going to see what do equations have to do with tables and graphs. So once we start looking at tables and graphs, equations are going to have two different types of variables. So using the concepts from fifth grade, where we have an input to a situation and output, well, in equations, we're going to have an input variable, and we're going to call that the independent variable. Independent. independent, independent variable. And once we put a variable into an equation, then we're going to get the output. And the output is going to depend on the input. So we're going to call that output variable the dependent, variable. So equations, we're going to focus on only mainly two different rules. So we're looking at independent variables, dependent variables, and then we're going to be looking at adding equations and multiplying equations. But we have a long fancy word called additive. Additive equations or additive variables where you're adding some to the variable, or we're going to have multiplicative. Just think multiply, but we're going to change it into an adjective where it says multiplicative. That is supposed to be a C. multiplicative. So we got, and these are the two rules that we're going to focus on. Two different variables and mainly two different rules when we're looking at equations, tables, and graphs. Now with this in mind, we're going to focus on two questions. What are the independent and dependent variables in a situation? And what is an additive or multiplicative rule? It's actually a lot simpler than what it sounds. So if we take a look at the example where we have 2x equals y, what that's saying is whatever we put in for the value of x, it's going to be multiplied by 2, and then you get your y. Let's say we put in, let's do the function here. So let's say we have 2 and we take x out and we put in 0. So 0 goes in, 2 times 0, and the result is going to be 0. So the input is 0, the output is 0. So whenever we take the variable out, usually what we're going to do is put in parentheses to represent that we are replacing that letter with a number. So we could actually write this whole function down below, the whole process, and do 2 times each one of these inputs. So our x is going to be the input value, and then y is going to be the output. So x goes in, y comes out of this function, or otherwise known as an equation. So 2 times 1 is going to be 2. So 1 goes into the equation, and then 2 comes out. And then you put 2 in there, 2 times 2 is 4, and then 2 times 3 is 6. And what we're going to start doing with this here, we can actually have the input-output. They make an ordered pair when you have the x and y paired together. And we can actually start graphing these things. So 0, 0, x is 1, y is 2. So I'm just pulling them out of the table here. So you got the process table. So we got 1 goes in, and then times 2, and then 2 comes out. And then we got 2, 4, when x is 2, y is 4. And then when x is 3, y is 6. And we're not going to do any further than that. And just always remembering that x is going to be first, and then y in the ordered pair. Now, using the same process for the second equation, whatever the variable is, x minus 4 is going to be equal to y. So the process, we're subtracting 4 from whatever our input is. So we have our input, and then we have our output, our independent variable, and then our dependent variable. So we're going to follow the same process, and we're going to take the variable out. And then what the variable is, we put a number in there, and then we use the process -4 for everything that we put in there for x. So 2 minus 4, 4 minus 4, and 6 minus 4. Now, we're just picking some values for x to demonstrate what this function is or what this equation is doing. So 0 goes in, 0 minus 4 is going to give us -4. 2 minus 4 is going to give us -2. 4 minus 4 will give us 0. And 6 minus 4 will give us 2. So using those input-output values, so now when x is 0 in this equation, y is -4. When x is 2, y is -2. When x is 4, y is 0. When x is 6, y is 2. So just comparing these two rules. So first we've looked at independent and dependent variables. That was question 1. And question 2 is, are we using additive or multiplicative equations or rules? Well, in the first situation, this is a multiplicative rule. And the second one, even though it's subtracting 4, it's not multiplying or dividing. And we learned in our integer units, when you subtract 4 positives, it's the same as adding 4 negatives. So this could actually be written as an additive rule, just saying adding 4 negatives. So this is an additive rule. So now that we've looked at the equations and then we created some tables, and in doing so made some ordered pairs, now we're ready to graph. So just label our x and y axes here. X is always going to be horizontal, and then y is going to be going up and down vertical. So we can just label these down below, x and y. And we look at our x values here. We have 0, 1, 2, 3. So we do 0, 1, 2, 3. And then the y-axis is going to, looks like it's going 0, 2, 4, 6. So 0, 2, 4, 6. And we can actually skip count those. Okay. So 0, 2, 4, 6. So when x is 1, y is 2. So we're going to go over 1 up 2. When x is 2, y is 4. And when x is 3, y is 6. And what we're going to start discovering is when we have an equation, just a multiplicative equation, we're going to be starting at 0, 0, and they actually make a straight line when we graph these particular equations or functions. And we're going to end up calling these linear equations. And on the right side, taking a look at it, so it looks like when x is 0, y is -4. So it looks like we're going to have to actually extend this down here. So let's start with x values. We got 0, 2, 4, 6. So we got 0, 2, 4, 6. And then we have -2, -4. So we're actually going to start down here. So we're at 0, -2, -4, and then 2, 4, 6. So on the y-axis, we're going to have to go all the way down to -4. So when x is 0, y is -4. And then when x is 2, our next order pair, when x is 2, y is -2. And when x is 4, going all the way over, when x is 4, y is 0. And when x is 6, y is 2. And those, when connected, will also give us a linear relationship, or it'll create a straight line when we graph the function. All right, so we took a look at, for this lesson, we looked at equations and independent and dependent variables, additive multiplicative rules. We created tables, and then we created graphs using these. And now we're going to practice them during the rest of the class today.